A great day to one and all. I am Mr. Kim J.C. Ensho, a faculty member of Iloilo National High School SPSTE, and today I will be discussing with you writing descriptive textual discussion and tabular data display with focus on our demographic profile. So this is in relation with our research, with our subject in STEM or special topics in mathematics. With me is Ma'am Elisar Joy Hovacon of SPSTE as well, and she is handling sections Platinum and Silver. So before we delve into actual writing, it's important to note that there are many ways of writing textual discussion of descriptive tabular display. And note that my manner of writing may be different from yours. Your style of writing may be different, but it's okay, as long as we do not deviate to the main essence of the data that we have. Our focus for today is on writing discussions of the demographic profile of the respondents as a whole and when they are grouped according to various categories or levels. Say, if we group them according to sex, how many are males, how many are females? If we group them by highest educational attainment, for example, how many are elementary graduates? How many are high school graduates? How many have finished their bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctoral degree, and so on? And you are free to create your own discussion as long as you do not deviate from the essence of your data. It's very important that we do our best to discuss the data objectively as possible. Presume that your audience knows how to read. Please give them the presumption of literacy. In this case, you do not necessarily repeat what is written on your tables, but we have to provide a more or a higher interpretation or a better interpretation of our table. Provide other interpretation aside from simply repeating what is on the table. Textual discussion comes first before tabular data display. So I'm expecting that the discussion comes first, then after your discussion, then there comes your table. Transition words like also, moreover, furthermore, etc. can actually be used in a discussion. Using transition words may be necessary to give the reader a good flow of the presentation. As much as possible, do not break the tables that you have. Make sure that the entirety of a certain table, including the table number and the name of the table, is located in one page only. If ever the discussion is long and then if you place the table after the discussion, the table is broken, you could actually cut a portion of the discussion just to make sure that the table is on that one page and the discussion may continue after the table. So it could be like discussion, then table, okay. Or you could have discussion, textual discussion, table, then discussion afterwards. And note that as what I mentioned earlier, you have the freedom in writing, but maintain objectivity at the same time. Since we are talking here about data, numerical data, as much as possible, we may provide information as long as we do not go beyond the correct interpretation for that. So we have to be certain that we use the correct terms, that we use the correct analogy or reasoning behind it, and we do not go too far beyond what the data suggests. And I always emphasize this with my learners, technical or scientific writing is not the same as journalistic writing. In some areas where you could do journalistic writing, sometimes you could tend to be flowery, quote unquote flowery. Sometimes if you do journalistic writing, sometimes you romanticize. But in technical or in scientific writing, specifically that those that involve numbers, we have to make sure that we write um, as much as possible in a technical way. And I would understand if not all of us can write a perfect one, but this is a good springboard for us to learn better. And in our next sessions, in our future sessions, we will discover, or I mean, we will discuss on how we could further improve your work. And for our class, you may do this handwritten or computerized. If you have a PC or a laptop, you can have this computerized. But if not, no problem with handwritten. And to those who intend to have it computerized, I would suggest that you use the following specifications. For our class, we will be using Tahoma, size 11. And for the paper, short, that is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. The orientation is portrait, and the margins is 1 inch in all the sides. And the spacing for the discussion is 1.5. Take note that this spacing is applicable for the discussion, but not for the entries on the table itself. With that said, I believe it's also important that in writing, it varies. Writing style varies from one person to another, from one school to another, from one state to another, from one school to another, and so on. However, for our class, we will be writing in third person. So therefore, I encourage you, please avoid terms like I, we. I suggest that you use terms like the researcher. The researcher wanted, or let's say the researcher found out this and this and so on. So please avoid first person and second persons. Let us use the third person pronouns. And let us have an example. Let's say the situation is you would like to determine the preferred presidential candidate for election 2022 of selected voters in Iloilo City. You conducted a survey and gathered data from 398 people via purposive sampling. The respondents were taken as an entire group and were also grouped according to age. That is from 18 to 30, 31 to 50, 51 and above age brackets, and for sex as male or female. You are tasked to create a textual discussion and tabular display of the profile of the respondents. And let's say I have this table. Note that in the actual study, you will be determining how many, you will be actually gathering your data. But for now, let us presume that we call this table 1, demographic profile of respondents. And I have here 3 columns. The first column is the category, wherein we could see them as an entire group. When they're grouped according to age, and with these categories or levels, and we have for sex as male or female. The second column is all about small letter n. And the small letter n here tells us about the sample size and the percent symbol out of the total. So for the entirety, we could see that there are 398 people, and that comprises, of course, 100% of the entire number of the respondents that you have. For those, in terms of age, you found out that 289 of them are aged 18 to 30, 92 are aged 31 to 50, and 17 are aged 51 and above. For sex, 173 are male, and 225 are female. And you might ask, sir, how did you get this percent here? So to answer that question, we could actually use our calculator. Let's have this. You would like to determine what percent of 398 are the 289 people whose age ranges from 18 to 30. So 289 out of 398. So what we do is you click this one, the fraction one, you divide 289. So then you divide it from the total, which is 398. And after dividing such, you click this one, you multiply the result by 100 so that it will be converted to percent. And it displays this fraction here. But if you wanted to have it in decimal, you could click this SB here. And you see it's our calculator reveals 72.6130 and so on. For our class, I would like you to express percent to the nearest tenth. That is one decimal place. That's why if you round 72.6130 and so on to the nearest tenth, it's just 72.6. The same process could be determined for the others. So for 31 to 50, that's 92. I'll just change this one. 92 divided, 300, there are 92 of them. So that's 92 divided by the total, which is 398 times 100. And it's you could see here, it's 23 point this, and to the nearest tenth, that's 23.1. You could do this for all of this, and you will get these percentages here. And I want you to express them to one decimal place or to the nearest tenth. All right. So continuing this, also, you could actually see from here, if you will be using a computer, the table number here, table 1, this is the meaning to say this is the first table that appears in your study. And this is the name of table 1 is demographic profile of respondents. So you could see the title of the table is italicized. So if you are using desktop or PC, please follow this convention. And you could see as well, aside from this, you could only see 3 segments, right? This one. The first segment here tells us that this is the start of your table. The second segment here, I believe, functions to separate the titles or names here on top from the entries. And the last segment here signifies the end of this table. That's why in your table later on, I would like to see only 3 segments or 3 line segments, okay? And how do we do that? I will teach you later. And also, I want the N, the small letter N, and the percent to be in italics to indicate that these are statistical terms or variables involved for your output. Now, we will now discuss how do we write a tabular, or we have now your table, but how about the discussion of this table? So I made this by color coding. So I have here the profile of the respondents, period. This is what's the table about. And note that the title of the table and this one here could be different. There's nothing wrong with that. And this one, you could see I have highlighted some in violet, in red, and in blue. And note that the discussion for each of these parts, the color coding here on the table corresponds to its actual discussion in the textual discussion. They are actually directly related. So you could see for the first here, for the entire group, I reported it in one sentence. Like, it could be seen that 398, or like open parenthesis 100% of the voters participated in the study. So 398, 100% here indicates that this 398 is the totality or all or 100% of all who participated. For the next one, for the age, the ones in reds are the discussion for the age. For example, I have here, in terms of age, it could be seen that majority, or 72.6% here, of the respondents have ages 18 to 30. So you see the 18 to 30 here was placed in quotation marks because I directly copied it from the age bracket in our table. I discussed this one. Next, in addition, nearly a quarter of them have ages 31 to 50. And you could say 23.1, no? Although the term near is kind of vague, but I hope you understand the point. It's not perfectly, because when we say quarter, that's 25%. It's not 25%, but somehow 23.1 is near 25. That's why, in addition, nearly a quarter of them have ages 31 to 50, and only 17, which corresponds to 4.3% of them, have ages 51 and above. Note that for this, you could, for example, for age, if you could do this in one sentence, go ahead. If you need 2 sentences, go ahead. If you need 3 sentences, no problem with me, as long as you provide other information instead of repeating everything that's on the table. For sex here, this is my discussion here. When grouped according to sex, it could be noticed that there are more females, N 225, percent, 56.5, the percent here, okay, than males, N equals 225, who just comprise 43.5% of the group. So you could see, no, from here, there are many ways of reporting. There are some instances where I use this format, majority, then this. There are also instances like frequency, then percentage. There are also instances that N and percent are inside the parentheses. So choose what do you think is good for you, or which one would you like to adapt. And don't worry, this is a good learning experience for all of you. I do not expect you to master everything, but at least you have an idea how to write. Okay? Also, I am not an English major, so I am not sure yet with the grammar. And that is why you all, in your future researches, hopefully, when you have your grammarian already, then she could help you with that. So, and then the last here, table 1 shows the profile of the respondents. Normally, you mention the table number. Either it could be like in the first part, or it could be at the last part, to suggest that there's a table following the discussion. And also take note that the color coding will not be reflected on the actual paper. I just did the color coding here so that you could see that there is a direct correspondence with the entries to the textual discussion. But in the actual text, as much as possible, you will be using black all throughout. All right. And as what I mentioned earlier, no, the discussion here, this discussion should come before the table in your actual research. And with such, thank you. And in the actual paper, it will look like this. Here, this is it. The one I just did, the one we did earlier. It's just that I copied it here, followed by the table. But as what I mentioned again earlier, the table, before I do that one earlier, the table number and the title should be single space. Let's have single space only. And let's remove the space there. But for the rest of the text, it's 1.5. But the entries at the table may be single spaced only. Okay. The 1.5 spacing I'm recommending, it's only for the text. So from here, there should only be 3 lines, right? So to do this, I could highlight this one by clicking this. And after clicking it, you could go to this borders option. You could click no border first. Clicking no border removes all the borders. Then go to the topmost row. You would like to shade, or I mean to give the border for the top. So here, you click the top border and there. Also, you would like to separate this category N and the percent with all the other entries here. So go to the borders again, then click bottom border, and there you have it. And we need one more, right? And that is the last row. Should also have a border. And with such, you click also bottom border for that. And here you have now your demographic profile of respondents tabular display or table. If you wish, you could also modify the width of this one as needed. And there. So it's better also if you could have done this one earlier, you know, before we remove the borders. But anyway, we still have it as it is. And I hope you learned something for today's discussion. And what you will do is I will be giving you this situation here for your activity. And in this situation, you will have here the profile of the respondents rather. And in here, you will delete this and begin the discussion of your table. And where's the table? Here it is. Because as what I said earlier, the text comes before the table number. So let's make this single space again. And let's remove also the space here. And this time it will look like this. So it's kind of a bit long. So I'm expecting a bit of a lengthy, a bit lang, like a longer discussion perhaps. And if you could see, the percent column is also vacant. So you will also fill in the percent column as well. And so what you're required is fill in the percent column here. And after such, you will write the profile of the respondent's textual discussion by beginning here. And this will be done by pair. And preferably, at least one of you should have a laptop or a PC, preferably, so that it should be easier for you as well to do your activity. Right? With this, thank you so much and a great day to one and all. And I wish you all the best. God bless everyone and take care.